Oh, my glasses. Hello. I was like, oh my God, I'm ready. And it turns out I'm not because I can't see shit. So, here we go. Now I can see shit and other things aside from shit. I can see a lot of things. So, yes, hello and welcome. I love these stupid claps. I love all these. one day, I'm going to figure out how to use these properly. I think that's so hilarious. You know what I mean? Howard Stern has nothing on me, or whoever the most recent popular radio broadcaster is that the kids are enjoying today. Ryan Seacrest? Who knows? Oh, that's cold. Yay. Well, welcome everybody, one and all. It has been a hell of a week. I'm going to turn this down just a little bit. If I can hear it over my headphones, then I can't hear it. Then I can. Anyway. In fact, I haven't even checked audio, so let's do that real quick. It might be coming in hot or not at all. We'll find out. So I hope you guys have all had a wonderful week so far. It's been a really long one. Let's be honest. It's been a really long week. I hope you guys have all had okay, there she is. So far. Nice. It's been a really long one. All right, shut up. It has been an extremely long week to me anyway. I feel like it's kind of been dragging. I think a lot of that has to do with like all the hubbub and the things going on in the news right now. It seems like I sit and I wait for the next thing to happen, good or bad. I just sit and I wait for the next whatever to happen. So I'm constantly like checking my phone. I feel like I've been doing that more this week than most weeks in the past. Sorry. Sorry. I know the audio is bad. I'm sorry. I'm trying to have some fun. Well, welcome. As I said previously, this is episode 5 of series 3 for Tootie'S Toy Box. In this series, we have been dissecting some of the Simpsons episodes. We have been going, like, taking these deep dives psychologically into the behaviors behind Homer Simpson. This one will be no different, but slightly different. I mean, last week we did sort of take a different route when it came to this episode, to the episodes, only because it was 9/11. So we kind of did the city of New York versus Homer Simpson, which didn't exactly have too many psychological deep dives. I mean, I guess we could have dove into Homer's anger. And the fact that he probably needed anger management therapy. I don't think I really touched on that, but it was mainly because it was actually spot on September 11th, and it was just a day after another national tragedy that just happened live on TV. So we were pretty shook up last week. And if we weren't shook up, we were definitely questioning morality either way. So this week we are getting right back into the traditions that what we've been doing in the previous 4 episodes, which is just doing some deep dives, some psychology. And for this one, actually, we are going to be touching on a very sensitive subject for me, for many reasons, and that is the subject of addiction. I myself have gone through addiction issues. There's many of us that are currently probably going through addiction issues that we have to eventually face. Otherwise, we will lose our lives, or lose our jobs, or lose our kids, or et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of depth that's going to happen tonight, eventually. So you know what? Let's get into it. But before we do, I just want to say, if you have not subscribed yet, please do so. I would really appreciate it. I know the channel is a bit caveman. It's a bit 1999. It's a bit MySpace. I'm getting it. I understand that the quality is not all the way up, but you know what? The content is there. So eventually I will be upgrading the system. If you want to help with that, let me know. You can always help. I used to have my Cash App down here in that little like movie thingy. I took it off. I figured when the time comes, people will help. So if you want to donate to me getting a whole new computer, getting, and not really a computer. I only need a laptop. I already figured out the budget for it. I think everything altogether is probably like $800, which of course I'm gonna put in. You know what I mean? It's just payment plans. What do they call it? Layaway, layaway, maybe. I don't know. But we'll get there. I promise you, we'll get there. All right, so let me go ahead and start sharing screen so I can show you guys what we're up against and what we're discussing here. I apologize. Here's the thing. Um, there was there were very limited clips that I could actually take off of YouTube when it came to this episode. So I wasn't really sure how I was going to go about this, but I figured I can go back to my primitive lifestyle. There we go. Of doing it by actually just taking it off of my own files, unfortunately, because there was really no other way that I was going to be able to pull this episode off. For some reason, I assume the reason is the Disney Plus contracts and whatnot, but for some reason, I was extremely unable to find anything that I could actually use for this episode. So, yay! Hi, Tony. Shout out, Tony. It's good to see you. It's good to see you. This is going to be a fun episode, so stick around. Stick around. So here, obviously, we're going to be talking about Codependence Day. It is the 15th episode of the 15th season for this series, and this episode is honestly one that a lot of people have mustered up an opinion that this is the episode where the Simpsons jumped the shark after 15 seasons. This was the episode that put Homer in a whole new light and put Marge in a whole new light, where it's like, yeah, no, fuck these two. They're both losers. And it really turned a lot of fans off. It actually was an extremely controversial episode, and we'll obviously get into why. But it's called Codependence Day because this is the episode where Homer and Marge get together and decide that they're going to spend their time drinking together a lot more. Marge discovers that she finds spending time with Homer in this way is quality. Give me 1 second. There we go. And these are her initial thoughts. Like, this is quality time I get to spend with my husband. So, at first she's extremely excited about it. Let's go back to the beginning of this episode. It's pretty much the beginning. But in Act 1, Bart and Lisa are disappointed in a new Star Wars parody. And they convince Marge and Homer to head to wine country to pay the director, Mr. Curtis, who is obviously George Lucas, but to pay Mr. Curtis a visit because they were extremely disappointed in this Star Wars prequel, sequel, whatever it is. Obviously, it was going back to a time where even us, not so much now, but back then, Star Wars fans weren't a fan of the new movies and the new prequels, especially Jar Jar Binks, who in this parody is called Jim Jam, which is pretty funny. But yeah, so they convinced Marge and Homer to end up in wine country. As you can see in the thumbnail there, Homer is doing Edward 40 hands with 5 wine bottles. Hey, can you put in the comments if you've ever played Edward 40 hands? Because yes, duh, in college we played it all the time. And if you don't know what Edward 40 hands is, so what we do is you get 2 40s of whatever. For us, it was King Cobra malt liquor because it was cheap. I think they were $1.50 per 40. So everybody got their own 2 40s, and you tape them. Excuse me, you tape them to your hands, and you just hold them, and you have to drink both of them. 80 ounces of beer, mind you. You have to drink both of them before you go and use the restroom. Otherwise, how the hell are you going to use the restroom? How are you going to pull your pants down? Blah, blah, blah. So it was a complete mess, and it was a very, very fun game. I had the best time playing this game with my roommates several times over. Edward 40 Hands. If you haven't played it, I don't recommend it. as this episode is about addiction, I cannot recommend it. But I will tell you guys, it was a hell of a lot of fun. So there is Homer. And I chose this picture specifically because look at the kids' reaction. Bart and Lisa are not comfortable. They are not comfortable with seeing Homer like this. And it kind of brings to light the idea of what are we putting our kids through when we think we're being fun and acting silly, and they're not accepting it. No, mom, this isn't you. No, dad, you don't act like this. So yeah, so there's that. That's specifically why I chose that picture, is because of the kids' reaction to Homer. It's a silly picture. Homer looks ridiculous, but the kids don't. The kids are taking it very seriously. So that's one thing I just wanted to point out there. So yeah, so they convince Homer and Marge to go to wine country, and Homer and Marge are like, yeah, fuck it, let's go, because they want it. They wine country, yes, we can drink together while we're there. Before that happens, though, Marge, she hangs out with Homer for a night at Moe's Tavern, and she gets super, super drunk. And then the next day, she has to pay for it. She's extremely hungover. To which she tells Homer, "Hey, man, I'm done. Like, I can't do this anymore. I think both of us need to tone it down a little bit." Is what she tells Homer. Homer's like, "Yeah, yeah, of course, Marge. Yeah, we got this." But in saying that, Homer actually, he's not convinced, and she does not get no good of a job of convincing him otherwise. Oh, I was gonna do the copyright. I guess I could do it. I don't really need to, because all these clips are mine. I didn't take it from anybody, because I couldn't find anything. But anyway, here's the copyright. Under Title 17 USC Section 107, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal tips the balance in favor of fair use. So there's that. And here's this. Marge having a good time with her husband, enjoying a relaxing day in wine country. And just enjoying herself, spending time with him, and discovering this might be something we can do. Again, still trying to behave, still trying to do her best to obviously be a mom, obviously be a good wife, be a good example to both her husband and her children. But it doesn't stay that way. It definitely doesn't stay that way. So let me before I do that, so yeah, he convinces her to, let me go backwards. These are all out of order, just so you know, because I had to do it this way last minute. Not last minute, but I had to do it this way. Hopefully that gray bar is gone before I press play. So let's see what happens. But one of my favorite lines in this episode is Marge saying, "Germans, you just can't stay mad at them." She doesn't say it here, but it's actually super hilarious. So this is Homer and Marge at Oktoberfest. And then you will see what happens when they've had too much to drink, and how Homer actually becomes a piece of shit in real time during this episode.
Well, I don't want to be a Gloomhilda. I guess one beer won't hurt. Now, why do people worry about stuff? It's all gonna work out.
All good point. Sleep tight, my drunken angel.
So he's obviously, I'm sorry, I can't get rid of the gray thing. That totally sucks. He's obviously too drunk to drive. He throws Marge into the passenger seat. She's incoherent as hell. You can hear her. If you hear her, she says, "Why do people worry about stuff?" Like, she's talking about herself. She's self-projecting and doesn't even know it because she's drunk. I assume, and this is probably a pretty safe assumption, Marge suffers from anxiety or panic attacks. I'm almost positive of it, because nobody has to say things like that. Nobody says things like that without realizing the opposite. I hope I didn't lose you in that. I suffer from anxiety, panic attacks constantly. I've made it known. I'm very honest about it. Without the boohoo, I don't need the boohoo. In fact, I find it quite embarrassing, to be honest. The last time I had a really bad one was this past Saturday. And it was because I was dehydrated. I was working my ass off and I wasn't drinking any water. And I called my mom and I said, "Hey, my heart's pounding." She's like, "Well, heart palpitations are dehydration." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, duh." But it wasn't, "Oh, yeah, duh," because my brain wasn't convinced, "Oh, yeah, duh," at all. It took like an hour for that to happen. And it took actual like hydration for that to happen, when my brain just stopped talking and said, "Oh my God, you're dying." And not that Marge has anxiety specifically, that she's dying, but there's a thing to it. People with a lot of things on their shoulders, with a lot of people that depend on them, um, If I die, what will happen? Oh my God, if something happens, what will happen? So Marge's fear or anxiety or panic or worry, in her words, isn't about her. It's about the people she leaves behind if something were to happen to her. So it's interesting to see her let loose and be a little loosey goosey. And that's the very first thing she discovers in this drunken epiphany is that why do people worry so much? Why do people worry so much? Like, it's lovely. This is the thing about addiction and why it feels so good is because it silences those parts of you that you're afraid of. So her being drunk, she felt good enough and comfortable enough to be honest about something, and she didn't even realize it. That's the fun part about addiction, and that's why it becomes extremely dangerous. So here we see Homer. I'm going to press play. Again, I apologize about the gray bar. I figured out how to get rid of it once, and I couldn't figure it out after that. Yeah, anyway.
I'm in no condition to drive, boy. Wait! I should have listened to myself! I'm drunk! Drink some cola to keep yourself alert. What the?
Are we home yet?
In a minute, honey.
Oh my God! This DUI is a SHEUI.
What was that?
And maybe someone else is here. And maybe he'll step forward and admit to being the real culprit.
Oh, this is a new low for me.
Even Homer himself says it. Oh man, this is a new low for me. That's wild. That's absolutely insane. I don't have any more clips after that one. I'll just leave it there for now. I'm glad the gray bar went away. I don't know what I did, but it went away. So yeah, there you go. Tony says, yeah, or even scared for her to let her guard down. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. A lot of times you won't see silly behavior from a stoic adult or a very conservative human being who's very reserved and just keeps to themselves until they get a little bit of liquor in them or whatever, until they get a little bit of something different that alters chemically their brain. And with that chemical reaction of their brain, the emotions follow and physical things follow. I'm not judging anybody, by the way. Like I said, I have struggled and I continuously struggle with this. Anybody who is in active addiction or has ever been in active addiction understands that it's going to be a struggle for the rest of your life. It doesn't change. I feel good today. Like, it doesn't change because one good day will always lead to one drink. Well, hey, you know what? Fuck it. I'm good. Like, and sometimes it does stay that way. Sometimes people can gain that success, but is it worth the risk? When you just about lose everything in your life, is it worth the risk? So we see here Homer and Marge having a good time together. Marge seemingly having a better time than Homer, or is Homer already wasted? So yes, they drive home wasted, with Homer placing Marge in the driver's seat after the accident. And Marge is obviously arrested for DUI. And again, the fact that Homer was able to realize that it was a new low for him tells me, one, he wasn't that drunk. He couldn't have been. He just didn't want to get in trouble. Homer's tolerance is probably way up there. He was probably okay to drive eventually. I'm not saying he was okay to drive in that moment, but once the accident happened, I'm sure he snapped out of a lot of things. Enough, actually, to be able to frame his wife with the crime that he committed. That blows me away. And again, it's just a cartoon. It's just The Simpsons. But there's a reason why they make these episodes the way they do. They're speaking. They're talking to us. They're telling us, hey, yeah, like, maybe don't do that. To me, anyway, to me. But yeah, so eventually Barney, for some reason, well, somehow Barney enters the scene and he convinces Marge to put herself in rehab. So she does. She puts herself in a rehab thinking, I did this terrible thing. There must be something extremely wrong with me. I must have these terrible addictions, etc., etc. And let's not forget the fact that Marge does suffer from addiction. She's a gambler. She's addicted to gambling. So that addiction cloud, that gray cloud of addiction, is constantly over her, constantly. So it doesn't really matter the vice. What matters is that it's always here. What matters is that that panic of, am I good enough? And what happens after is always here. And the only way to get rid of this is to distract this. And that's coming from personal experience. And I'm just going and observing by the episode itself. So she does. She puts herself in rehab. While she's in rehab, by the way, Homer decides he's going to hand the kids over to Ned Flanders for a little bit. And it kind of brings me back to a personal space of being a part of lives and being able to witness people who've had to give up their children in order to overcome addiction. And in some cases, I've seen families with parents who've succumbed to it, and therefore they are stuck with a grandparent or an aunt or an uncle for the rest of their lives. And that's sad. And in this instance, whether Homer was doing the right thing or not, it didn't take him very long to decide that he was going to allow his children to end up with Ned Flanders. Now, the end of this episode, and I'm going to go through it rather quickly so that I can talk about the actual, like, the things. Marge finds out that Homer framed her for this DUI. She's extremely furious by it. She almost considers leaving him. But then through rehab and through her AA meetings, she realizes, or she discovers, that it's not the alcohol she loves. I love spending time with Homer. So yeah, I mean, that's the part I think that really pissed a lot of people off, is that Marge forgave him almost immediately. And in that forgiveness, if this were real life, if this had happened in a real, true American family, there is a lot of dangers that come with that forgiveness, that come with that easy, I want to spend time with you. I don't care what you do. You go ahead and drink yourself to death as long as I get to be with you. This episode is called Codependence Day. So she's obviously codependent on Homer for whatever reason, because honestly, if Marge and Homer did divorce, she'd be fine on her own. She would be absolutely fine on her own. She had the pretzel company in previous episodes. She's an entrepreneur. She's extremely intelligent. She's an artist. She's creative. Marge would have figured it out. If push came to shove, Marge would have figured it out. They probably wouldn't have had the big house and whatnot, and whatever else Homer provided, but she would have figured it out. And yet she chose this life. She chose the risk of both of them putting themselves in a position to neglect their children again, among other things. So yeah, this episode for a lot of Simpsons fans was a bullshit episode. We hated this episode, myself included. I did not like this episode. This is Marge accepting Homer back. I love you, homie, or whatever she does, the thing. I can't do Marge. And apparently neither can Marge anymore. But yeah, so she takes him back. All is forgiven. All is well. And with that, the addiction is never addressed. She becomes an enabler without question. The risk of neglect to the children is even greater. And the denial is always there. If Marge really wanted to get rid of her anxiety and her panic attacks and what's going to happen next, she probably should have gotten rid of Homer. You can't predict what a drunk will do next. A good drunk, a bad drunk, it only depends on the mood. Oh, I loved him so much. He was a happy drunk. Yeah, that you know of. I have this joke. It's not that funny, but I use it all the time. It is funny. It's funny to me. And it's a Hitler joke. So, in this day and age, but the joke is, why did Hitler drink tequila? or I'm sorry, why did I already fucked it up? Why didn't Hitler drink tequila? Why not? Because it made him mean. Get it? See, no one gets it. There's the thing to it. He didn't drink tequila because it made him an angry drunk. And we all know what happened. We all know the history of Hitler, and obviously he was ticked off. He was just a tad ticked off historically. So anyway, that's the point of the joke. But there's something to that. The angry drunk. Oh, I can't drink that. It makes me mean. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Like an angry drunk being self-aware enough to not do that. A lot of times it doesn't end that way. It doesn't end with the angry drunk just letting it all go and going into rehab and riding into the sunset and being sober for the rest of their lives. Hardly ever does it end that way. Usually it ends with somebody getting hurt or killed. Unfortunately, I'm going to hide this and maybe bring myself back up there. All right, I think we're good. I think that's it. All right. Not that that's the end of the episode, but yeah, Marge was in extreme denial, and in fact, she's probably in denial till this day throughout this series. The series is still going on, folks. It's not over. It should probably have ended. There's the Simpsons gif where the guy's literally beating a dead horse, and they're like, "No, stop! He's already dead." And that's kind of how I feel that the Simpsons is at the moment. You got the joke. Yay. Thank you. I think it's funny. I use it all the time. I think it's hilarious. But you don't have to. It's not, you don't have to. It's fine. Nobody likes Hitler. So, you know what I mean? But yeah, addiction isn't just something that is standalone. It's also not something that happens to a certain type of people. The Simpsons are not lower class, or in fact, they're high-end middle class. Look at the house they have. Look at the life that Homer is able to provide the family. They live in a suburb. They're not doing bad. There isn't too much that's going to influence them on the inside or on the outside to make these decisions. These decisions of hey, you know what? Let's go drink or whatever. Their habits. It's a habitual thing. I'm sure if Homer didn't go to Moe's after work every day, he wouldn't know what the hell to do with himself. You know what I mean? And this is real life. There's a lot of people that have to occupy themselves with certain things in order to not drink themselves to death. This is why I'm doing this. I mentioned it in the very first episode of Tootie's Toy Box, is that I'm trying to promote healthier habits. I'm trying to promote the idea that getting off of work and wasting away by drinking the rest of your night isn't always the best thing to do. Again, do it to your heart's content, but is your heart content when you do it? These are questions nobody is asking themselves when they do these things, because again, we close our eyes and only realize that they're habits until they're not habits anymore. Then they become neglectful habits. There's been times when I worked for a doctor, a pain management doctor, and I would come home, I'd buy myself a bottle and I'd drink, and I'd be so hungover I couldn't go to work the next day. But I had my trusty phone. So a lot of the work I could do, I still could do from home. So I did. I contacted patients. The only thing I wasn't able to do was physically check patients in or physically help doc with injections and whatnot. So eventually it probably cost me my job. I was laid off, right? But I can't imagine that they didn't know. It happened often enough. Not every day, not every week, not every month even, but often enough. Often enough. Where I was unreliable. So these things do cost you. A hangover is costly. It wastes an entire day, a day we could be using to do something else, a day we could be using to at least get up and be awake instead of suffering in hell with a headache, begging God to take the pain away. The anxiety is what it's called a lot of times. Eventually, we should probably get tired of it. But getting tired of it is hard to do when we have enablers. Marge always took care of Homer. I'm sure there's been many times when Homer was hungover and Marge had to make him a nice hearty meal, tend to him while he was in bed, enabling, forgiving him, constantly forgiving him for doing really fucked up shit is an enablement. She should not have taken him back after that. Marge now has a criminal record. DUI. You know what comes with a DUI besides 10 grand worth of fees? You have to put a device in your car. Your license is suspended. Everything changes when you get a DUI. How did Marge get groceries for the next year? He fucked her life up and she took him back. Now, obviously, these are things we don't see in The Simpsons because they move on to the next silly shenanigan that they do, right? But in all reality, this is her reality. That she took back a man who practically took her fucking life away. It's enraging. It should be enraging. And this is why a lot of Simpsons fans had a problem with this episode. Neglect. The neglect that comes with Marge holding it down for Homer because Homer's at the bar, because Homer's doing another silly thing because he thought of it while drunk. Holding down the family, 3 kids by herself, might as well be by herself, right? The denial that nothing is wrong. Everything is fine. This is how it's supposed to be. He takes care of the family. We have this house. This is how it should be. It's fine. It's just a few drinks at Moe's. It's interesting. Hell yes, what? This is just it. I think this episode's going to be a little bit shorter, but again, I'll probably end it this way. I'll probably end with personal stories. Again, like I said previously, I still very much struggle with addiction. I behave better. I think better. I dream better. I am more logical when I don't drink. I think my biggest addiction was what is the term? An upper. I'm not going to tell you specifically which one, but I was addicted to an upper for about 1.5 years. You can guess. I don't care. You can leave it in the comments, your guess. You can give me your own story as to your personal experiences. But I used to pick this up, in fact, just blocks away from where I live now. Ironically, blocks away from where I live now. I used to go and pick this thing up, and you smoke it out of a pipe, and it was the most lifting feeling ever. It was the best high I've ever experienced. And I'll tell you this, if the person that I picked up from didn't get locked up by the cops and lost all contact with anybody that could have helped me on that end, who knows what would have happened? I probably would have remained addicted to such a disgusting substance. At the time, I saw my friends addicted to the same thing and actively destroying their lives, their physical bodies, their lives, though. The whole thing, homelessness. I remember several times running into a specific friend in the streets of Long Beach where I lived at the time. And you know, hey, let me buy you a beer. Let me buy you this. Are you hungry? You want some chips? That was me with a friend that I almost practically lived with. They were a neighbor, and we were always together. The group of us, we were always together. Thank God for good friends. Because even though they knew that they were doing it, I knew that they were doing it. They knew that I knew that they were doing it. They didn't help me find a new connect. I would ask them, hey, man, hey, hook me up. Like, nope, not one of them. Not one of them. And again, these were people that were actively in addiction. not helping me because they don't want to see me doing what they were doing. And at the time, it pissed me off, but it saved my life. It saved my life having these people say, nah, we're not helping you. At least my friends knew enough not to enable. At least my friends knew enough to gatekeep something like that. Gatekeep your drugs. Thank you, by the grace of God, that they were smart enough to do that. I don't know what it was about me that they were like, no, we can't do this. Or I don't know if it's because I was a Christian and they knew that, or because I came from a Christian school. Who knows? I don't know, but I don't care anymore. What I care about is the gratitude and the thankfulness. Three of four of my very good friends are already passed away because of drugs. 4 of them. I celebrate their life every year on their birthdays and on Dia de los Muertos. I celebrate them every year because their lives were and are important to me till this day. I celebrate a member of my family who is still alive because he turned himself around. His addiction was extremely strong, and he overcame it, and he hasn't touched a single substance since. Excuse me. I don't think I can respect anybody more than that family member, because of what they had to go through and the things that they had to sacrifice in order to become sober, like legit sober. I can call myself sober, but I'm not. I smoke weed. You know what I mean? Like I have vapes, and if I didn't have the vape, I'd probably be on nicotine. So the addictions are still there, and I'm coming by it honestly. I don't have a problem with that because I shouldn't. Because it shouldn't be stigmatized to the point where people can't talk about it, because it's really happening. These things, this episode of The Simpsons has happened in real life. I watch Midwest Safety all the time. It's this cops show. I've mentioned it before, but there's episodes where people try to frame their friends for drunk driving. It's insane. It's insane, and it's desperate, and it's a cry for help, whether they see it or not. And it's not really hyperbole I'm trying to speak here, but it is. It's an active cry for help. Like, I don't know where else to turn, so I am going to turn to this bottle. I am going to turn to this substance. I'm going. It doesn't really matter specifically what it is. What matters is that it gets recognized eventually. So yeah. So thank you guys for watching. I think I'm going to end the episode there. I wasn't trying to go too hard. Actually, I was. I'm lying. I was actually trying to go really hard. But given that things are still a little bit sensitive, the week has been weird. People are mad about this. People are mad about that. Everybody's mad at the Jews. You know what I mean? It's been a weird week. So at that, I'm going to end it here. I don't think there's any much more pounding people can take right now. You know what I mean? So again, this episode was strictly about The Simpsons. It was strictly about the deep dive into one of Homer's shittiest moves he ever pulled off, and the reasons why he possibly did it, and the aftermath of what's to come in this family if he doesn't fix these issues. So once again, thank you guys. If you enjoyed this episode, please like the video, put a big thumb there. It's free. You can subscribe. Also free. All you need to do is create a YouTube account. If you have not yet, free. So thank you guys once again. I love you guys. Leave comments if you have comments. Follow me on Instagram and DM me your own personal story if you just want to talk. I'm always here. That's the whole point of Tootie's Toy Box. Let's discuss. We're here for that. I'm here to build toys. I'm here to talk shop. Let's go. I will see you guys next Thursday. Bye.